So to be completely honest, when I received a request to review today's watch from Sega Design, I didn't look at the price. I looked at the watch and I thought it was appealing, so I said yes. When the watch came, I looked at it and I looked at the bracelet and the quality and the overall finish of the watch, and I was very impressed. And then I looked at the price and I was even more impressed. This is a very well-spec'd watch with some incredible details that you normally find on much more expensive watches, but at a very affordable price. It's called the Z Hunter, and I have one hands-on to show you guys. So let's take a hands-on look at the Sega Design Z Hunter. Now, this is definitely not a watch for everyone. This is a polarizing design if I've ever seen one. The case is skeletonized. The dial is skeletonized. It's pretty wild. However, this is what Sega Design do well. They've made many watches that look very similar to this. They also make watches like the Blue Earth, which is a beautiful design that's won awards. But this is really what their core is. Wild watches with very bespoke movements that don't cost a lot of money. This is in stainless steel, not titanium. It actually looks like titanium because of the color of the stainless steel, because it's all bead blasted. And then what they did here, and this is the second time that I've seen this in many years. I haven't seen this very often. They've taken a bead blasted case, a bead blasted bracelet, and then put very fine lines of polish. So it looks kind of weird, almost like titanium, in my opinion. You do have a skeletonized case, so there's two portions of this case. There's an inner area, then there's that outer area. These arms are sort of part of the case. Well, they are part of the case, and everything is held together with screws. So it's a very odd looking case, very odd design. Then you have a very bespoke movement. And when I got it, like I said, I was blown away by the price, but I was also blown away by this movement because it is extremely bespoke. When you look at this, it's not a very obvious movement. You're not going to look at it and say, well, that's a Miyota movement. It's not. It's something completely different. And when you flip it over, you're going to see that you have a very bespoke rotor on here. It's a anchor rotor. I think that's what they're calling it, but it's really nice. And I took a loop and I looked at the movement and it's clean. It's not messy. So I'll give a very good example. When I get watches with an ST19 in, if you take a loop to it, you're going to see that the finishing isn't really uniform. There are little specks of dust or dirt on the movement. This is very clean and the finishing is uniform. There's no discolorations. There's no specks of dust or anything like that when you look at it with a loop. And that is actually a pretty big accomplishment for a watch that costs this price and has a movement that is this bespoke. Also, they've skeletonized everything. Even the barrel up here, the mainspring, you could actually see the mainspring through that barrel, and you can actually see that mainspring tighten up, and you get to know basically a general idea of how much power reserve you have. It's also in the shape of an X, and there are these bespoke screws on the movement, and it looks very bespoke from both sides. You could see all the cogs and gears working when you're changing the time, when you're winding the watch. It's very interactive, and it also has a little bit of special lume, and you're getting skeletonized hands on top of everything else. So they've gone the entire way with skeletonization on this watch, except for the bracelet, which is actually pretty solid. Kind of an opposite from what this case is, but we'll talk about the bracelet in just a second. The hands are skeletonized. They're very bespoke hands. They are a little bit hard to see. The movement is slightly darkened. However, it is not all the way darkened, so those bright polished hands are a little bit hard to see. You can see the green tips on each one of those hands. However, those are lumed. You can see them actually better in the dark. In the light, you see the green, and it is hard to read, I will say. It's not easy to read. So it's not the most legible watch in the world. But again, you're not buying a watch like this because it's legible. Measurements on this watch, this measures in at 43 millimeters if you're measuring from this side of the case all the way over to where the crown is. However, if you measure it with the crown, it's around 47 millimeters. So you do have these large crown guards. It does wear a lot larger than a 43 millimeter watch. It's a tonneau shaped case, which makes it wear large already. You have a 48 millimeter lug to lug. You do have female end links, or really straight end links, that make this bracelet wear very well and very comfortable. Then you have around a 12 millimeter thickness. That's including that very bespoke curved sapphire crystal. You have a mineral crystal on the back. The crown is large, 7.9 millimeters. Very easy to operate, and that is brushed and polished. The bracelet could be my favorite part of this watch. It has a very flat look to it. Everything is smooth. There are no sharp edges. They've done a really good job with the design of this bracelet. It's an eye-link bracelet, that's what I would call it. You have a very nice line of polish along the edge. It feels very good, and it looks a lot more premium than it actually is. Obviously, this is a butterfly clasp. The fact that there is no micro adjust at this price point kind of makes sense. We'll talk about price point in just a second. And there's the view of the case back. This gets 30 meters of water resistance, like I was saying before, a mineral crystal on the back that is flat, and a very bespoke looking movement, something that you would expect from a much higher end watch. However, this only costs $390. That's with a strap that this comes with as well. I only have the bracelet to show you guys, but they are also giving you a strap with that price. This is something very complicated looking that they're giving you for a pretty damn good price considering all of the details here. And it has some odd lume, so let's check out the lume really quickly. And there you go. All of the indices are lumed. All the primary indices are lumed. There are little tabs for the non-primary indices. However, those are not lumed. The primary indices are lumed. The hands are lumed. Just the tips, that green area, those are pretty liberally applied with lume, especially the indices. Those are very liberally applied with lume, very bright, looks really good. And again, kind of bespoke, kind of a weird way of displaying the lume. And it makes a lot of sense because this is a weird, out of the ordinary style watch. It's the only way that I could explain it. It's emulating way more expensive brands like, I would say probably like the Frank Mueller Vanguard, or maybe a Richard Mille or a Sevistos or something like that, but in a very affordable package, $390. And you're getting a lot of that bespokeness from this that you would get from a brand like that, like the ones that I just mentioned. However, in a very affordable package of $390. It's really interesting what they can do for this price, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. I will put a link to this watch down in the description below. I believe it is on Indiegogo and it has funded, but I will put a link to the Indiegogo down in the description. And it has, usually they fund very, very high, and they always come through with their creation. So Seagate Design, very reliable. Thanks for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. And that's really it, guys. I will catch you guys in the next video.